during the public comments portion of the meeting. Please identify yourself on the board sign-in sheet. A copy of the board meeting agenda is available for review on our school district's website. Please silence your cell phones during the meeting. Would you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would now like to turn the floor to Ms. Sugar-Grass and Ms. Rhoda, who is now present.
Yeah, and I'm taking off my mask for this. Before we begin tonight's board meeting, I would like to take a moment to recognize the death of one of our own Cuyahoga Heights family members, Marty Malek, class of 2003. Marty's young life of 35 years ended yesterday after a courageous year-long battle with cancer. She leaves behind two preciously young daughters, one who is currently attending Cuyahoga Heights. Marty comes from a very strong line of Cuyahoga Heights alumni, having both parents and four sisters who graduated from here. I know our school district family will help support Marty's girls, nephews, aunts, uncles, cousins, and parents in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. At this time, I ask that we take a moment of silence to remember one of our own school family members, Marty Malek. Thank you.
And thank you, Mrs. Schuker. May I have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda? So moved. Mr. Maven moves. Second. Mr. Sijaki seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. Mr. Muccio?
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Item 3 on the agenda is the staff spotlight, and one of last month's awardees or recipients, Ms. Yulitza Rodriguez, is with us this evening to give tonight's award.
Thank you. So first I want to say that I'm so thankful to have the staff spotlight where we can acknowledge and appreciate the work that the employees do here. And one of the employees that we would like to recognize is Frank Domzalski. And I think his work pretty much speaks for itself on the outside. He just maintains the grounds looking so beautiful. Some of the comments that we've gotten from other employees here, they say they can't express how much pride they feel driving past the front of the school every day. It looks wonderful. I never see Frank relaxing. He is constantly at work, making our school a better place for students and for employees. And we can certainly attest to that. Our office is on the second floor here, where we face the front, and our windows are usually open because of the nice weather. And it's funny because sometimes we are almost every day, it's hard to even hear ourselves talk because he's always out there cranking a machine or mowing the lawn, using the blower, using all kinds of machines and tools. So it's just an attest to Frank's hard work every single day. So we want to thank you, Frank, for all that you do for making us look so good. So the staff spotlight is for you for the month of September. So thank you.
Frank, I'm going to read the board resolution for you, then I'll present this to you. Whereas the Cuyahoga Heights School District has been fortunate to have a dedicated staff committed to the mission of the district, and whereas Frank Domzalski, custodian, has worked diligently in a meticulous fashion towards the beautification of the exterior grounds of the school, whereas Frank Domzalski has executed top-notch maintenance of the lawn, flower beds, and athletic fields, and whereas Frank Domzalski has willingly responded to and solved daily requests on problems that arise, and whereas Frank Domzalski has acted with honesty and integrity when dealing with his coworkers, and whereas Kathy Martin, Assistant Treasurer, and Yulitza Rodriguez, Payroll and HR Specialist, have formally nominated Frank Domzalski for his outstanding work ethic in this endeavor, and therefore be it resolved that the Cuyahoga Heights Board of Education congratulates Frank Domzalski on his September 23rd, 2020 selection as the Cuyahoga Heights Schools Staff Spotlight Award winner. And this one's a little personal for me. Frank's a former horticulture student at the Career Center, and those of you that, whether you know or not, I'm a former horticulture teacher myself, and Frank's teacher and I were very, very good friends for many, many years, so this one's kind of close to home, so congratulations, Frank.
Need to make a motion and vote on it, isn't that right?
Correct.
Okay, so may I have a motion to approve the Staff Spotlight Resolution Award for September 23rd, 2020? Ms. Zucker moves, Mr. Naaman seconds. Is there any discussion? I would only echo the comments that were expressed previously. The grounds look stunning every time I drive by, so thank you. Keep up the good work. Thank you. With that, if there's no other discussion, let's move to a vote, please.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye.
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Souchaki.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye, the motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 4, comments from the public. I see the reference to the board policy 169. Do we need to read that, Mr. Evans, or?
Trying to pull it up here.
Well, we have two
Go to it.
people in the audience tonight that would like to provide comments, so without further ado, Mr. Bridges, I believe, wants to speak to the board.
Please come to the microphone, Mr. Bridges. Would you please come to the mic, please, so that way it's recorded?
First of all, I appreciate you having our meeting tonight. I don't have all my notes very well, but no, I appreciate you, Lindy, and the rest of the board members having a meeting with us. I read Mr. Evans' notes about getting us back in school, and we really need it. And I got to tell you all, and how much minutes I have? 3 minutes?
3
Yeah.
minutes, yes, please.
I did something stupid today, and there's not very many people here. I called the Solon School District of Iowa, not Ohio, by mistake. And yeah, I asked them if they had their schools if they had their kids in schools. And they go, yeah, we do. We have 1,500 kids, 1,400 of their 1,500 are in school. So I'm making myself look kind of stupid right now, but they have 1,400 of 1,500 of their kids in school. So, Mr. Edwards, I know you're trying to do your best. I couldn't believe that when I did that today. So, I just would really I need.
I'm not keeping track of the time, John. That's not my job.
I know. I just
with us.
need. I don't know anybody else. Oh, I'm just trying. I just would like to have Janasia back in school, and that's all because she really needs that. And I can't believe I did that thing today when I called Iowa. So stupid. All right. But, no, I want to come here and talk to you all. And I appreciate you giving us some time. I really do.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Edwards.
If you have additional comments in the future, please feel to attend a board meeting and share them with us.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm sorry. I haven't been at other board meetings. I'm just too busy.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Next, Mr. Torres wants to speak to the board. Yeah, Mr. Torres?
Victor Torres, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Just wanted to state, the CDC statistics show the risk of COVID being extremely small for kids 5 to 14. On the CDC website, there has only been about 26 deaths in total out of the 200,000 people that have died throughout this pandemic. And the majority of those deaths were because they had severe medical conditions. With that being said, the flu with the same age range has had a much higher incidence of illness, hospitalizations, and deaths in this time period as well. If and when we go back to school, and if there is an influenza outbreak that is non-COVID related, Are we headed again for another complete school shutdown for a long period of time? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm looking at the sign-in sheet. I don't see anyone else that wants to speak tonight. If there is, would you please identify yourself and you can entertain your comment? Okay. Seeing none, I thank everyone for their comments tonight, and I'd like to move on then to agenda item number 5, Treasurer's Business, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dobbins. Tonight, my recommendations for approval, item 5A, approval of minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the September 9th, 2020 regular meeting as found in attachment C1. Item 6A. Motion to accept the bank reconciliation, financial reports, and payments for board review as of August 31st, 2020, as prepared and certified by the treasurer as accurate as found in attachment T2. Item 6B. Motion to approve new vendors to the school district per W-9's attached as found in attachment T3. Item 6C. Motion to approve purchase orders over 5,000 as found in attachment T4. Item 6D. Motion to accept the funds associated with the Broadband Ohio Connectivity Grant in the amount of $2,000. A new account 510-921A will be created entitled Broadband Ohio Connectivity. Item 6E. Motion to approve the permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2020, modified from the temporary appropriations as found in attachment T5. And item 6F. Motion to accept the attached list of donations received through August 31st, 2020, as found in attachment T6. And I ask for those motions for approval tonight.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion for approval of the treasurer's consent agenda items? Mr. Neiman moves. Second. Mr. Souchaki seconds. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out a couple things. If we look at item 6A, which is the acceptance of the bank reconciliation, financial reports, and payments for board review. Tonight I printed off the attachments that are on board docs for all the members up here, and I just kind of wanted to go through a couple pages of these and point out a couple items. So if we look at our first sheet that we have, it's item T2D. It's our lead sheet that we have for the general fund. And this is what we have attached for every board meeting for every month as we work our way through the fiscal year. Our fiscal year for everybody here in the audience starts 7/1 and it ends 6/30. So we've completed 2 months out of the fiscal year, July and August. So our starting balance in the general fund, it's the top left-hand corner, B1. So that's our beginning balance in the blue highlight, $14,799,534. And we can see towards the bottom right-hand corner, column N, row 31, $12,138,030 is our estimated ending balance at this point in time. Now, as we work on the 5-year forecast, and we're going to discuss that as it's upcoming in November, but that's going to materially change our lead sheet and how our general fund is going to go going forward. I do want to point out that for the month of September, while those are estimates in the green, we are trending higher than the conservative estimate from our 5-year forecast for our property taxes, which is a good sign financially for the school district, and we'll talk more about that, especially as we get into our 5-year forecast. We can see our beginning budget in column P, and then once we update our 5-year forecast, the numbers, again, for the entire lead sheet will change along with that we have in place. If we go to the next page, I wanted to point out, which is T2F. So this is going to be our restricted and unrestricted state aid spreadsheet that we have. And lines that we have on the spreadsheet. So the dark purple and light purple refer back to House Bill 164. So House Bill 164 was Senator Matt Dolan's, he was the lead on that bill, getting approved through the Ohio legislature. And what it did is, originally when the cuts occurred from Governor DeWine, they took from us approximately 42% of our state aid. Senator Matt Dolan's bill, which was approved, dropped that 42% down to 3.7% approximately for school districts. So would have more than 3.7% deducted from state aid. So that material significantly helped us with the material amount as far as the. So what did was, so originally we had. So a couple months ago. Fiscal 21, which is we are. Months come in per month, and it started pay payments per month. So we got 6,000 month of July. We can see here. So until we get, our $138,000 for fiscal 21. So that bill by Senator Matt Dolan, just that unfavorably impacted. So, point that money is coming through prior year, and then this year we're going to. Up per month, so 12,000. Yep. Those were really the main two items I wanted to point out. But again, I printed off all the separate spreadsheets that go along with the general fund that we have for the month of August. And all these reports are available on Board Docs online too, if anybody's interested. And everything's labeled as well. So just wanted to point out those items. The second sheet, which is under all of these spreadsheets that we have, deals with our grants for fiscal year 2021. It's the bigger sheet that we have. So this is sheet T2Y. And this is our grants lead sheet that we have. So the top half of the page is fiscal year 2021's grants, and the bottom half of the page is fiscal year 2020's grants at the top of the page. And the bottom half of the sheet is fiscal year 2021's grants. So back in fiscal year 2020, which was last fiscal year, we had 3 grants up at the top. We had Fund 572-9920, which was our Title I grant, which was $75,397. Below that, we have our Title IIA grant, which is Fund 590-9920, and that was $19,116.14. And then below that, the third grant that we had in fiscal year 2020 was our Title IVA, Fund 599-9920. That was $10,257.95. In this fiscal year 2021, we have significantly more grants than what we had prior year. So our first grant in the orange, ESSER grant, that's Fund 507-9921. The fund is always established by able to help us within our budget purchase cleaning and sanitizing supplies. And as of, I want to say today, we spent approximately, we either spent or encumbered 75% of it approximately. So we're using that up to get us going as a long runway to, have everything in place for all the requirements for the school year, because, from working with these CARES Act dollars that we have, there are a lot of requirements that the state is putting on us, to have in place, as viable, options that we have for return to school. So we want to, make use of the funds that we have, the most efficiently in place going forward for all these precautions to safely return students to school, which is our goal. The second fund, which is the Coronavirus Relief Fund, that's the 510 fund, that's our $37,820. Primarily, we're using those dollars, the $37,000, 100% of it, on Chromebooks for our students for the, whether it's remote learning or, just an everyday curriculum that we have, instruction. So those funds are earmarked for that purpose. The $2,000 broadband Ohio connectivity grant, Mr. Dave Wallace was our lead on that, and that's used for hotspots, the $2,000 that we have. Our normal grant, Title I, which is $77,581. That's our normal grant, so we just, go through it with our normal processes. Below that is the expanding opportunities for each child. That's a new grant. That's also a Title I grant. It's only $1,600. So we're working on allocating those dollars accordingly. And then the last two are Title IIA and our Title IVA. Title IIA is $18,647, and Title IVA is $10,000. We budget those accordingly. Title IIA is primarily designated for professional development in the school district, and Title IV, the $10,000, we use in various security or instruction materials that we have for that grant. So, yeah. So if anybody has any questions going forward and any grants we have, this will be a good lead sheet that we have. And again, it's titled T2Y on our attachments that we have here. It's just a good lead sheet to reference back to for our grants. And we have a lot of stipulations that come with federal dollars that we have to abide by. So it's very particular that we have to keep track of it. And I just want to point out something too. If we look at the top half of the page, if we look at our Title IIA grant, which is purple, the 590-9920, the grant amount was $19,116.14. We still have a balance on that account of $301. The reason we have that balance, and really you shouldn't have any balances with your grants, we have a grant amount. You don't necessarily have to spend the entire grant in a lot of instances. So you can, save money that you don't spend in a year, and it just flows through the following year. So we'll update these balances with the carryover grants from the prior year, so it bumps up so we'll have that allocation. But the reason we have a $301 balance, and again, grants are accounted for, you spend the money, and then you recoup that money from ODE. So we spend, and then we get reimbursed on that. Spend, get reimbursed, and we have to fill out forms to send to ODE to get reimbursed. So essentially, you want to do it in a efficient accounting practice way that you never want to have a balance at the end of the year. You want to make sure you're constantly getting reimbursed for that. But the reason we have a small balance of $301 is we had prepaid for professional development for fiscal year 20, which is last year, and it was at the ESC of Northeast Ohio, and those professional development courses or days got canceled because of the pandemic. So the ESC wrote us a refund for approximately $300. Well, we're so efficient in trying to get the money from OD, we already filed the expense because we prepaid for that. So typically you don't have cancellations for professional development, but the pandemic was came out, and, so that I just have to true up with OD at $300. Eventually we have to pass it back. We can't hold those funds. So the other items tonight, if there are no questions on 6A. 6B would be new vendors to the district. Nothing out of the ordinary on those vendors that we have. We have 7 Dogos, which would be cafeteria, Equip Parts, Gifted, Unlimited, International Society for Technology and Education, Graffiti Warehouse, Make Music, and Scholars, Sohar's All-Season Mower Service. 6C, which would be the approval of purchase orders over $5,000. We just have one tonight. And I have a little paragraph typed up for this one purchase order. So it's for $9,000 some dollars. I don't have it open, but nope. It's for $9,076.50. And my little paragraph here, this PSI, and it's a nursing service that we use, PSI, increase in hours was originally board approved 8/26/20, so previous board meeting that we just recently had. And that was to be paid for with the coronavirus relief grant funds. However, per discussions with our Assistant Superintendent Matt Young, Mr. Dave Wallace, and myself, it was decided to use 100% of the coronavirus relief grant at $37,000 for Chromebooks. So as a result, we will need to pay for the increase in PSI nursing services from the general fund. So that's why we have that tonight. Item 6D, which is the board to formally accept and we create the account for the Broadband Ohio Connectivity Grant, the $2,000 grant that we have for the hotspots. Item 6E is to approve permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2021. So if I look at the content and open that attachment, which is T5, we did approve back in, I want to say, June 24th board meeting, our appropriations for fiscal year 2021. And those appropriations that we approved were our temporary appropriations. So now, before October 1st, we have to approve what's called our permanent appropriations, which carry us forward through the entire year. We can modify those. We can modify appropriations as many times throughout the year as we want, but we have to have a official permanent appropriation on the books given to the county before 10/1. So tonight we have our permanent appropriation measure for approval. We only have 4 changes for that permanent appropriation measure against what was board approved 624, which was called our temporary appropriation measure. So we're reducing by $200,000 Fund 3. That's due to, and I have notes here on our board docs agenda. We have no transportation vehicles needed to be purchased in fiscal 21. Fund 510 has an increase of $39,820 due to the 2 grants that we have from that Fund 510, which is the coronavirus relief grant, $37,820, plus the $2,000 for the Broadband Ohio grant. Fund 572 is an increase of $19,263, and that matches with what we have for our title grants, which is $79,263. Again, for the temporary, we just guesstimate what that grant amount is going to be, and we true it up as we get to our permanent appropriations. And the last adjustment we have for our permanent appropriations is Fund 590, which is a decrease of $1,353, and that's to match again with the CCIP for the grant, that Title IIA grants, $18,647. The last item I have tonight for approval is accept donations received. I just want to thank and recognize, if we open that attachment T6, it's going to be Anita Schaefer donating to the George Gross Scholarship Donation account, $100. Thank you for that donation. And that's all I have for discussion, for the recommended items tonight.
And is there any other discussion for these items? If there isn't, Mr. Muccio, can we vote then?
Mr. Naaman. Aye. Mr. Souchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mrs. Schukert. Mr. Dobbins.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item 8, Treasurer's discussion and comments.
Okay, item 8A, just to discuss the 5-year forecast that we have. So the 5-year forecast must be submitted by November 30th of each year, and then again in May. So twice a fiscal year we have to approve this. I just have a rough timeline, wanted to get everybody else's thoughts on what they think as we want to review and approve this. So for our November 2025 year forecast, number one I have on here, the end of October, maybe we have a finance committee review of the draft November 2025 year forecast. It should be ready towards the end of October, probably that last week.
So meet end of October?
Yeah, if we can, the last
Third
week of October, if that
Okay.
works out. Number two, at our November 4th regular board meeting, which would be a work session board meeting, then we would review, as a regular board meeting, our 5-year forecast during that work session, November 4th. Number three, I have in here the BEST committee review. I don't know how that's working with everything going on, how we want to do that, if we do or if we don't. No. Okay. I'll leave that just as, an item up there. And then number 4, which would be our November 18th, 2020 regular board meeting, we would formally approve the 5-year forecast at that time. So, between the November 4th work session and the November 18th board meeting, that's 2 weeks. So we'd have 2 weeks for questions and anything anything of that sort. And then I also attached the May 2025 year forecast just for reference here on the board docs website. That sounds good to everybody? We can go with that?
Great.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Good plan.
And,
And I take it that you would be distributing a draft copy of the document to the board, kind of concurrent with the first presentation of the Finance Committee?
yes, yes. Once the
Thank you.
draft is done, yep, it'll be passed out, and then,
Great,
yep,
thank you.
that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Moving on to number 9, Superintendent's Business. Mr. Evans.
Okay, 9A, motion to approve the resolution and list of non-public transportation requests for 2020-21, authorizing payment in lieu of transportation when transportation is impractical, according to the amount stipulated annually by the Ohio Department of Education. 9B, motion to approve the reimbursement of $25 deposit to the parents of 8th graders due to the cancellation of the 2020 Washington DC trip for a total cost of $1,700 from the 018 Middle School Principal Support Account. Motion C, motion to approve the attached athletic event fee schedule effective 2020-21 school year. D, motion to approve overnight travel for teams or athletes who qualify for regional and/or state championships, if applicable, for 2020-21 school year, contingent upon completion of the overnight trip form upon qualification of the athletes by the date specified on the playoff schedule. E, motion to authorize the superintendent or designee to sign contracts with the OHSAA for the school district to be a home site for tournaments, if selected, and to approve a school district administrative designee to hire workers for OHSAA tournament activities when selected as a hosting school as needed throughout the 2021 school year. F, motion to adopt a memorandum of understanding between the Board of Education and the Cuyahoga Heights Association of Teachers regarding Title IX of the negotiated agreement for 2020-21 school year. And G, motion to adopt a memorandum of understanding between the Board of Education and the Cuyahoga Heights Association of Teachers regarding the remote learning schedule procedures for 2021 school year. I ask that those items be considered for, let me go through the rest of it, I'm sorry.
Very good.
10, Superintendent's Business Employment, motion to approve listed individuals on supplemental contracts and stipulated positions for 2021 school year per the adopted wage schedule contingent upon successful completion of BCI, FBI fingerprint checks, proper certification. Motion to approve the attached substitute list for 2021 as updated September 2020 by the Educational Service Center. C, motion to approve the reassignment of summer maintenance aide Taylor Schaefer to the position of substitute cleaner at the approved pay rate through the first semester of 2020-21. Section 11, Superintendent's Business Agreements, Contracts, and Membership. Motion to approve a contract with Highline Corporation CASNet to scan graduate files to flash drives for the classes of 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. Motion to approve a contract with Independence Local Schools for admission of students residing in the Cuyahoga Heights Local School District for educational purposes for 2020-21 at a cost equal to the tuition as calculated pursuant with ORC 3317.08 and 3327.04. And D, motion to approve the agreement with Jack Reinstra, JR Funding Services, an independent contractor providing E-rate support services beginning July 1st, 2020, ending July 30th, 2023. And a motion to approve an MOU with the Educational Service Center in Northeast Ohio to access Virtual Learning Academy for 5-semester-long courses for a CHS student as a result of a medical condition at no cost not to exceed, at a cost not to exceed $1,250. I ask that those items be for approval.
Yes, so may I have a motion for approval of all those items under the superintendent's consent agenda?
So moved.
Ms. Schukert moves. Mr. Naaman gets a second. Is there any discussion?
Just to go through that, the resolution for non-public, that's the annual. We have to prove that we pay that out in the spring once we have verification of grades and we do the payment in lieu of transportation for any of the non-public students. The reimbursement of the $25 for the parents of the 8th graders, obviously with the 8th grade trip, we pushed it back to September in hopes that we would have been able to run it now. We were not. The company has refunded the money. The $25 makes every family whole for what they then put in. We're going to double up that trip. We did that a number of years ago. In the spring, if we can hopefully get the 8th graders to DC, we'll do something with the 9th graders this year as well. We've done that once before. to make sure that those students don't miss out on their trip. The event fee schedule for 2021, and then overnight travel for any teams that would be involved in state competition. That's kind of throughout the year. If we have qualifiers for state or regional meets that would require an overnight stay. And then approval for me to sign contracts to be host. I believe we'll host a girls' soccer game. We may end up hosting a football game, at least one round with the expanded playoffs. It's difficult to tell right now. And then the MOUs with the teachers, the Article 9 deals with the 7th class. We have a payment for a teacher that's been assigned a 7th class. That happened with 2 students this year that they're seniors in junior programs at the Career Center, so they weren't eligible to take. The way our schedule works, they couldn't fit into the senior English schedule, so they're actually 2 teachers are picking up those courses, and we used that agreement probably 6 or 7 years ago. We had that situation pop up, and that's the identical agreement that we used at that time. And then the teachers' remote learning schedule, the teachers worked diligently with us on coming up with that remote schedule, and that's so that's part of that memorandum of understanding as well. Ticket takers and substitute scorekeepers, the substitute teacher list that comes over from the Career Center. Taylor Schaefer has been summer help for us. She's actually doing her college remotely, so she's doing that in the evening. So she's kind of stayed on and helped us as an extended summer helper, and she's helping us at one of the off-site centers right now in the substitute cleaner. So Taylor's going to kind of stick with us for a couple more months, and right now we need the additional set of hands with some of the cleaning things around the building. CASNet is to scan our graduate files to a flash drive, so we have all that stuff transformed. The improvement with the agreement with Independence, that's for a special needs student. In the past, we're down to 1 student that has still, when we opened up our own resource rooms, we told anybody that was at another location that we were not going to make them come back to Cuyahoga Heights. Those students were acclimated to the places they were. At the time, we had 3 students at Independence. We now have 1 student. That student's doing very well over there, so we're working with a parent to keep them in a situation that they're familiar with in Independence. Jack Reinstra helps us with E-rate support services, and that gets us some rates on our funding for some of our electronic technology. And the MOU with the ESC, we have a student that's actually getting some treatment out of state right now. We're still obligated to provide curriculum for them, and we're going to use the ESC curriculum, the online curriculum for that student. So I ask that those items be approved. Any questions on any of those items?
Hearing no further comment or questions, let's move to a vote then.
Mrs. Schuker,
Aye.
Mr. Naaman,
Aye.
Mrs. Etter,
Aye.
Mr. Souchaki,
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye, the motion passes 5-0. Item 13, superintendent's report and comments.
Okay, the first thing is it's not printing my notes up here, so I apologize for that. The return to school, we're working daily on getting the students back in the building. I put something out in Tom Talks that we're looking probably about 3 weeks down the road. We're doing things daily. Today we distributed parking passes to some of the high school students. We had senior pictures taken today. We're working very closely with the teachers. One of the difficulties there is that the teachers are teaching during the day, so we can't take a lot of meeting time during the day to work out what those schedules are going to look like. We're looking at coming back in a hybrid. The schedule would be very similar to what the students are on right now. That would be the first step, and then a step beyond that would then have a certain number of all the students in on designated days. We'd start with 50% and then work our way back to a full complement of students. We're working on the social distancing some of the classrooms. That's a difficult task in some parts of the building, the older section of the building, on the north end and some of our middle school rooms where we have 28 students. We can't, it's difficult to get even 3 foot with 50%, so we're doing some gerrymandering in some of those classrooms to make sure that we can get the students in and accommodate those students through that process as well. A couple other items, Mr. Muccio mentioned Matt Dolan's motion or House bill that returned some money. We weren't sure if that was going to be a 2-year thing or not. We thought that might be just a 1 year. That's actually going to work into 2 years of the budget. So Thanks to Senator Dolan for his hard work on that. There's a couple House bills out there right now. One would extend 197, which is the current Coronavirus Act, in through next year. That has bipartisan people, Fedor and Manning, both working on that. That would extend some of the things that were already put in place on that bill. The Cupp-Patterson, if you've been following what's going on in Columbus, Representative Cupp is now the Speaker of the House, and he was the sponsor of the new funding bill. One of the other House reps are going to step in, and they're going to continue to push that Cupp-Patterson funding formula. Mr. Suchaki or Mr. Dobbins, one of the two, asked me earlier this week how that would affect us. We wouldn't get hurt by that in the long run. That would, I think, benefit the school district at this point in time. Right now, there is no funding formula in the state of Ohio. So we've been notified that we're going to be funded on the same levels that we were funded last year, essentially, by the governor. We got some good news. I'm on the state superintendent's advisory committee. He informed us that the wellness funds will stay in place for next year. We received wellness funds through the governor's office for last year, and this coming year, we were certain that those were going to get cut. The governor's going to keep those in place. It looks as if the governor at some point in time is going to have to reach down in the rainy day fund. One of the things that the state superintendent talked to the 50 of us superintendents about was he realized that what every district is going through right now, the CARES funding doesn't cover all the costs. Mr. Muccio said we've spent about 75% of our money. Of the 50 superintendents that were on the call with the state superintendent, I would say 40 of the 50 have already exceeded what they received in grant money in trying to make building modifications and purchase curriculum, purchase Chromebooks. A lot of districts that have ordered Chromebooks last March when schools were kind of put out of session still haven't received those Chromebooks yet. So we were fortunate that we had supplies in place. And along that same regard, and I know it'll be on next month's agenda, but our new guidance counselor, Mrs. Thrasher, her husband works for a company in Brooklyn Heights, and they just donated about 50 gallons of disinfectant for us to use in the building. I can't even imagine what the cost that is. And they're located in Brooklyn Heights, so that's a local business kind of donating to the school district. We're happy about that. So the maintenance staff is working tirelessly to get things in place for when the students come back. The building administrators are working with the students. October 2nd, we're going to have a pep rally. We don't have a football game scheduled that night. We're going to recognize all of our senior teams. We're going to recognize a homecoming court. The band will be there as well. And it'll be the regular ticketing process, but there's no cost for that because we have to just account for the numbers. Somebody asked earlier about who establishes the guidelines for the events. The OHSAA establishes the guidelines at 15% of what your capacity is. We applied for and received a variance to seat people along our fence area down by the football field. So the last week's game, we were not at capacity. We still could have sold more tickets for that. So some people were worried about getting shut out. We want to make sure that we can accommodate families so they can come and see their band members and cheerleaders and all those people perform at the events as well. So working daily on those items to get back in school. I meet with local superintendents. Mr. Bridges mentioned Solon today, and I will tell you that the superintendent at Solon here in Ohio, Freddie Bolden, I know Freddie for many, many years. He actually, to my knowledge, is the only superintendent. He actually had COVID. He was online with us last week. He was laid up for 11 days, and none of his family members got it. They were all quarantined, and he was just returning from that. Didn't know they'd done contact tracing. Didn't know how he received it because, and I know Fred very well, that he's very cognizant of the whole sanitation thing, and so they didn't know where it came from. But Solon is working on getting back in the building as well. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, I know that I put in Tom Talks the Independence with the middle school football game last week. I think the ramifications from that was that 20 of their students, 28th graders and 10 7th graders had to be quarantined. That essentially shut down their 8th grade class, so they went to 100% remote for that 8th grade class. And one of the things that we've talked about long and hard is that our band has 6th through 12th graders in it. And if you saw the news a couple weeks ago, North Royalton's band initially was quarantined, and the quarantine was lifted because some members had tested positive. if our band got quarantined, that would essentially shut us down middle school and high school, with the number of students that are involved in that. So I just have to commend our teachers, our parents, all the families for the precautions that they're taking with our students to allow us to do what we've been able to do to this point, and also that gets us back in the building that much faster. We're working on it daily, and really look forward to getting the students back in the buildings. I jumped in on a couple Zoom meetings this week with some of the a good time talking to some students. I've been out to the site and have talked to some of the students out there. I was out with one of the high school parents, and students want to be back in the building, and we're getting there, and we're making progress. And next board meeting, I'll have some more definitive plans about that. But we're working with the teachers and setting those plans up to make sure that we set ourselves up for success when we get our kids back in the building. So. Sure, John. It was either January or February. We had a real high number of students out. Now, we don't survey our families as to why they're out. In other words, we don't ask, is it the flu or is it the cold? Sometimes they volunteer that information, sometimes they don't. But I will tell you that it was either January or February, and I had reported this out to the board at the time, that we were probably about a day away from closing, because I was monitoring the numbers, and the numbers were going up each day. And we got to Thursday, and had the numbers been consistently they were on Tuesday, Wednesday, I would have shut down the district at least that Friday for deep cleaning through the weekend, not knowing whether it was cold, flu, whatever at that time. So do we consider that? Yeah, we take a look at those numbers and monitor those things. That's not something that I throw out publicly, because I don't want to throw what the percentage of students might be for us to get to that situation. But I would tell you, at that time, we were probably over about 20% absence, and that was students and staff included at that time. So we do take a look at those things on a regular basis. I know some other districts last winter closed a day here, a day there, based on what they were experiencing. We were not forced into that situation, but we do monitor those numbers the best we can, and try and determine what it's from. Again, we don't cross over on, if parents tell us why the student is ill, that's fine, but we don't survey as to why their student is absent. That's kind of stepping across the line for some of us. If parents want to tell us that, that's great. If they don't want to tell us, that's fine as well. They know what the comment was. And yeah, we do take a look at those things as we go. And if we need to, we do. This would, I'm just anxious to get everybody back in the building, and let's get on with educating our kids. So.
Hey, John, can I add to that, just being a parent and watching my 3 kids, because I am working remotely 4 days a week. I feel very confident that my kids, and in turn, our kids, are receiving a good education. I don't feel like this is diminishing their education. Is it changing things? Yes. Are there things that need to be tweaked? Absolutely. Are there challenges? Absolutely. My fear, and probably not the best forum, but I'm gonna say it anyway, when our kids do return, it is not gonna be school like last year, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. They are gonna be socially distanced, they are gonna be wearing masks, they are gonna be doing things that I think not everyone's realizing, because it's not gonna be like, oh, school's, wonderful. Like, right now, I feel like my kids are comfortable in their home, they've got quiet places, they don't have to wear their mask. I worry about the kids when they do come back expecting school to be what school should be. And it's not. It's gonna be very, very different. That's not a reason why we're not coming back sooner rather than later, but I just want parents to be aware, especially this group of vocal parents, to be aware that there are going to be a lot of challenges when we do return. And so again, just start preparing your kids now with wearing masks and talking with masks on, because it's not comfortable.
And the off-site learning centers have been, we created those to try and help out parents, but we also created those to see how those would function. And I've been out to the sites almost daily are the students wearing the mask? How are they performing online? We're collecting data from those and using that to help us get back in the building. So that's been kind of a multi-purpose for us as well. We certainly wanted to help parents be able to get back to work on that end of it, but we also have seen some things that worked and some things that didn't work out there, and some things that had to adjust. We tried these dust shields that we purchased, and we think those are going to help us get back in the building. So literally, I'm talking to superintendents I was on with the county health department today from 3 o'clock to 4:30 today about a local case, and do we have to quarantine, do we not have to quarantine? So I would much rather be talking about my social studies curriculum than talking to the health department on a daily basis. It's not what I'm built for, it's not what I was trained for. We're just trying to do the best we can, and again, we're doing it kind of one step at a time, but the teachers have been on board with this. They've been a tremendous help. What's working with kids, what's not working with kids, reaching out, making contact with kids, and we're going to get them back in the building, and eventually at some point in time, this thing will be behind us, and we'll get back to hugging the elementary kids like we want to give them a hug or a high five, and that's the hardest part about it. I go into those off-site learning centers, and those are kids that I'm constantly high-fiving and doing whatever with, and we're fist pumping now and making sure our masks are pulled up and all those things that are just unnatural and unnormal for us in our setting. We'll do it, we'll do it better than a lot of people, and when we get back, we'll be better than a lot of people. So I'm confident in that. I'm confident in the effort that everybody's putting forth with this. Absolutely.
Tom, before I leave, my daughter's teachers are very good. The school system I went to, I could go through other names. I'll mention out one. He loves her now. I
I just want to say thanks again to the mayors of the three villages. It's just another testament to our community partnership that we've had between the villages and our school district. And we really need to, and I'm glad we're recognizing them and we need to be thankful for their assistance in getting this underway for our remote learnings for our students. So I'm glad that we're doing that recognition.
If there's no further comments, Mr. Muccio, can we move to a vote?
Mr. Souchaki?
Aye.
Mrs. Schukert?
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Mr. Naaman?
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye, the motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item 17, board discussions. I guess how we just go left to right? Ms. Schukert? My left to right.
Oh, you call me first.
Okay, well then we'll go the other way.
Okay.
Ms. Etter, your turn.
Okay, you're right, you're okay with that, Lindy? Okay. I guess I'll just continue with my theme of attitude of gratitude for the evening. Just again, I know that these are very difficult times, and staff and students are being asked to do things that they never thought they had to do. So again, thanks to everyone who's making this all work for our school district. Again, another thank you to the mayors for their help in the on-site remote learnings. And a thank you to Mr. Domzalski for keeping our campus nice looking. And I think I would like to see if we could have some recognition, formal thank you to the person and company from Brooklyn Heights that gave us the donation, the disinfectant. Can we do something, recognize them, perhaps even include it in a Tom's Talk, or?
I jumped the gun because we just picked the stuff up today, and we'll do the formal board presentation of that, and we'll make sure that we recognize that group.
And
Because they
maybe-
actually have offered more to us as well, so they picked up a whole load of stuff today that,
That would be very nice, even if we can get like a paragraph or something in the Brooklyn Heights newsletter, so the people of Brooklyn Heights, or even the other villages, would know of this donation. It might even, maybe it'll spawn another donation of something else that can be used for our district. As long as people know that people are donating to the school, perhaps that would prompt them to perhaps find donations for us if needed things that we need. Again, in these crazy uncertainty times that we never thought we would be having to work through. So I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. I'll just echo a lot of everyone else's comments. I say that what I think personally too as well. I just like to thank everybody in the district too, especially the teachers and administration. I think that it proves our teachers are second to none. They really go out of their way. I have an 8th grader and a 12th grader, and seeing them, I've told my son, I said, this is the best college prep that you're ever going to have. I says, because you're balancing out your work schedules, your athletic schedules, and all your classes. And I said, and you have to do it on your own. So I said, this is the best prep you're going to have when you're, for next year. And my daughter, it's incredible. The teachers are so creative. And even we're in this remote learning environment. I know she was talking about a virtual field trip that they're going on like next week. And there's some really cool and innovative ideas that the teachers have in there. And I'm hearing it through the kids. So I want to thank all of them too, and all the teachers as well for making that extra effort. And I know that this is not the ideal or optimal situation, but I think that they're doing an excellent job in really communicating and educating our kids at this point too as well. Also want to thank the mayors, as like everyone else did too, for their support with the remote learning centers and kind of going out of their way to help us set up those learning centers and helping out our parents that both work and those types of things as well. Congratulations to Frank Domzalski too. Our outside looks excellent all the time, and it's a beautiful place, and I think that we're recognized as one of the top 15 beautiful campuses in Ohio, actually. So it's outstanding. I think that's some, congratulations to him for that too as well. Good luck to our athletes for in the fall. I know that we're kind of winding down some of the seasons and going into some of the playoff types over the next few weeks. So that's all I really have.
Thank you. I've got just a couple items. I had a chance to speak briefly with Mrs. Seitz and Mr. Zerbola today, and from a facilities perspective and a teaching perspective, I think that our staff has been called upon to undertake matters or things that no one ever conceived they would, but I'm just happy to report that everyone is rising to the occasion and is putting everything they have into making this as successful a venture as possible, and I'm sure that we'll stay on that course. That's all I have.
Similar experience. I was in the high school yesterday and spoke with a couple of the teachers, and I was impressed with not only their ability to communicate with their students online, but also the enthusiasm that they showed for, now that I've learned how to do this, when the kids come back, I'm gonna do this, and I'll be able to do that, and it was impressive. I was very, very pleased by what I heard and saw. So I think, as I've said in a previous meeting, we're gonna come out of this with more tools and better methods to educate our students than we had going in, and I'm just very thrilled about that. Tomorrow night is the Career Center board meeting. I did go through the agenda review, so I can briefly update you on what will be happening. And if I can find it. We're going to have a whole series of policies. Most of these policies are because licensure rules have changed for the instructors. So we have to update all of our policies so that they match with the state policies. Our income is lower than expected at the moment because tax payments have been delayed because of the deadline changes. So that'll show up in the finance report, but we expect those to catch up. And the other one that I wanted to point out was we're going to be approving an apprenticeship agreement between IEC Northern Ohio and the Career Center, and that agreement is for us, the Career Center, to start bringing in and giving instruction to the ArcelorMittal employees to improve their job skills. So I thought that was a nice merging of business and school, very closely related to us. And the last item for tomorrow's agenda, on September 24th, we had a Records Commission meeting, and we'll be reporting on that as part of the meeting tomorrow night. The Records Commission consists of the board president, superintendent, and treasurer, and we met with the records custodian, Hal Kendrick, who is the business manager, and apparently we're falling a little behind on which records need to be disposed of. In fact, we're several years behind, so we're going to be cleaning that up. We're switching to another vendor. That new vendor will help us dispose of all the records that need to be disposed of. And then when we're done with that, between the fact that the new vendor is going to give us improved pricing because they want our business, and the fact that we're going to have something like 90% fewer records, we're going to be saving over $3,000 a month for storage of documents. So I think that's pretty impressive that we're finally getting that taken care of. But apparently this has been on the list of things that we've been working on for the last couple of years. So we're making progress. And that's all I have for this.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Finance meeting, I will get it. I think I've said it the last two meetings, but I will send a doodle out. And I'm looking for maybe some new members. So if anybody has finance background, you'd like to join the finance committee, please send me an email, a text, whatever is easiest. I can't not say congratulations to Frank. We graduated together from Cuyahoga Heights. So to see him as an employee and then to see him doing such a fantastic job, I take a little pride in that. Like, we were buddies, like but it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It really is. And it looks so much better than when I went to school here. So much better.
Not that it was bad back then.
It just didn't flower. I don't know. Maybe I didn't appreciate it as much being a child, but it did, like those flower pots, and I know that's Cuyahoga Heights, but anyway, it looks good. And I just want to thank you. Like last time, I think I thanked the staff and especially the educators and all that they've done, but I really want to thank the parents because the struggle is real. This isn't easy, especially for parents. dealing with whether you're working from home or not working from home, and if you have multiple children, multiple grade levels, figuring out what the emails say and the Google Classrooms and keeping track of it. There's just a lot of just chaos right now. And so I thank the parents for sticking with us and just, this is survival mode. Part of this is survival mode, and we will get through it. And I truly believe we will be better, and our kids will be better. And I like what you said, Mr. Naaman, just the whole idea that our kids are learning life skills that they would not have learned at this young age if we hadn't been forced to teach them that, or, because we're in a pandemic. So I think the fact that they're learning how to manage time and learning that if they take a nap at 1 o'clock, they might miss their 2 o'clock, Zoom meeting. So there's some positive silver linings to this whole thing. And that is all I've got. Thank you.
Mr. Dobbins, I was able to pull my notes up, like a couple other things I want to mention. We were talking about the return to school. One of the things that I didn't mention, and I know that there's some of the students that are online that are going to stay online, we're looking for a way for them to continue to receive instruction from our staff. In other words, our teachers are going to be teaching. We're looking at some technology, so as those teachers, as kids are back in the classrooms, those people that choose to stay online, the online option, will be able to follow through the class with that class without putting them into a separate program as well. So we're looking at, I know Dave Walsh is looking at some things with that. Next Monday is a Staff Professional Development Day. I will tell you that I've invited Mr. Dobbins, anybody else that wants to maybe come in and speak to the teachers before we start with. But that day is going to be devoted to all the protocols that we have to follow, the teachers are going to have to follow with the students back in the building. The nurse will be doing presentations. We've got information from the health department with the things that we're going to have to do with the kids back in the building. So that entire day is going to be dedicated to that. The last thing was that, the governor's mandate that we post our numbers on the website. The first week, we had 3 students that were quarantined because of family member testing positive. Last week, we had nobody quarantined. And as of my phone call to the health department today, we have nobody quarantined this week, because while if it was a secondary contact, and the people don't have to be quarantined. One item on the quarantining, when the health department tells us that people have to be quarantined, we don't have any say in that matter. So we don't. The parents can say, "Well, I'm going to send them to school anyhow." We don't have the bill. That is a mandate from the health department to us, that we can't let them in the building if they choose through the contact tracing to make that assessment. State assessments. A couple things on that. By us getting back in the building, our students will be able to do the 3rd grade testing. And also hats off to Mrs. Houchin that she got the KRA done before the start of school. Probably 70% of the districts didn't get the KRA done and that are on remote are not able to get it done because it can't be done remotely. And there's going to be no waiver on testing from the federal government this year. So we're a little bit ahead of the game on some of the testing as far as the state and the feds are concerned. And then one last thing, we got the election coming up. They're telling us to hold on to our hats because lame duck with people that there might be a lot of things coming education's way during that lame duck session between November and then when the new people take office. I will tell you that Senator Dolan has been here, has been an advocate for us. Representatives Robinson and Crossman are 2 of our representatives that have reached out to us, that have reached out to board members, invited us to different items. All 3 of those people, and they represent both parties, the 3 have been very pro-education. Representative Crossman, Representative Robinson, and Senator Dolan. Senator Dolan has actually been here to present to our students about some job initiatives that he's had. So they've all been great. They've all reached out to us as a district, and they've all been they're all pro-education people. So that plug for those 3 people. Sorry, Mr. Davidson.
No, that's fine. That's important information. Thank you. I guess we move on then to item 18 on the agenda. Are there any future agenda items that the board would like to discuss or consider for future meetings? Hearing none then, let's move on to item 19, informational items, agenda information. It should be noted that the Board of Education members received their agendas several days prior to the actual meeting. Thus, they have had considerable opportunity to study it, ask questions, etc. Upcoming regular meetings, Wednesdays at 7 PM, October 7th, October 21, November 4, November 18, and December 9th. And just as a footnote, Mr. Evans, do you have any thoughts as to whether future meetings might be held here in the auditorium relative to the Bonneray Media Center?
I think with the number in attendance, we could socially distance in the media center and still accommodate guests in the media center. I just was not certain of what kind of turnout we have tonight. We can return to the Bonneray, and we'll space there, but we can certainly accommodate people that want to come and attend the meeting.
So that'll be reflected
Yes,
on the public
yes.
meeting notices. Am I,
Yes,
is that a
correct.
fair statement? Okay, great, all right, well,
Can I-
stay tuned.
Can I ask something too? What about like student recognition? I know,
The next month.
okay, good.
First students of the month will be
Awesome.
the end of October. The teachers kind of